They're destroying our productivity as Americans. Look at our cattle production that Max talked about. Look what's happening. And now, the word of this gets out that they're getting ready to classify 180,000 miles. And you know what the classification that they want to put on there is whole body contact. So they can swim in it. So that it's clean enough that if your 2-year-old decides to get in that mud puddle and waller around and ingest some of that muddy water, they're not going to get sick. That's how clean they want it. But now they talk about exemptions. They talk about exemptions to it. But what are those going to be? I mean, are you going to be able to get exemptions? And some of the wording, I don't know if I can find it here real quick. I have it marked out here. Some of the exemptions, the classifications of water was lakes, and then major reservoirs, and other lakes, which are waters of the state, then streams, and then standing water, and then streams and intermittent streams. Those are, so an intermittent stream, you know, it was raining this morning. This ditch out here was probably an intermittent stream. Right. So, you know, and there's pages and pages, but well, you can get what's called a UAA, and they talked about that. That was on their agenda. And that is use attainability analysis, which means that there might be some exemptions because of some kind of a plant or a farm or some kind of activity. But if you read the fine print, which I'm going to have to try to read the fine print under the poor light here, and it's real small, but it says one of the exemptions is human. These are one of the things that they can exempt: human caused conditions or sources of pollution that would prevent the attainment of use and cannot be remedied. Okay, so there's a human use out there that violates their whole body contact standards, so they give an exemption. But can it be remedied? Can they remedy your dairy farm putting a little manure in the ditch, or your, you know, or your fertilizer wagon dumping a little fertilizer as you cross the road into a ditch, or, you know, maybe they can eliminate your farming operation. I mean, what, you know, what, maybe they can get rid of your manufacturing plan, or, you know, maybe they can make it comply. So there's just, you know, there's just so much. There's just so much here, and I don't pretend to be an expert on this issue. A real good guy came up with a bunch of good information on this, and I'm going to read a little bit about some of the comments that he had because they're very good. And these are some of the questions. What is DNR trying to do? What is the Commission's intent by listing and classifying streams? We don't really know. And I don't think they're going to tell us.
I do know.
Will the classification result in permits, limitations, and decreasing land values? Well, yeah, it's going to. I mean, I sell real estate. I know what happens when, you know, if I told a potential buyer, well, you know, like I've got a potential buyer right now on a big tract of land. And I mean, if I told him about the potential classification of streams and potentially what that could do, is that going to affect the value of that farm? I'm just like in the animal ID program. Is that going to impact the value of your ranch if that's implemented? Yeah, it is. It's going to be hard to sell a ranch pretty soon if that program's implemented. But don't worry, because they're going to consider those economic impacts, you know, like they did on the sand and gravel, where they couldn't even figure out it was going to cost the whole state over $500. I mean, they take regulations where you can't mine gravel within a certain amount of distance from the stream bed. You can't go below the level of the water. And if there's no water there, you can't go below the level that would be if there was water there. You've got to have setbacks from the growth on the stream bank. So you're extremely limited by the time what you can actually mine off the gravel bar, which makes a lot of sites not even economically feasible for people to mine gravel on anymore. But they said, no, it's going to cost more than $500 in the whole state. And we had, Mike Menier up here in Houston just talked about because of their restrictions, he had to import his sand for their sand sealing projects for the highway department. He said that alone cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. Cost the state. I mean, he just passed it on to you and me. Maybe someday they'll figure out who the state is with all that money. It's us, isn't it? These are some more comments here that I think are good. Any new regulation has to consider current water use and must be made with local input. DNR needs to make an implementation analysis to determine and reveal the impacts of the regulation upon citizens and landowners of the state. Missouri Revised Statute 640.015 states, an analysis must be made of rules including economic costs and benefits on people and the agency, unless exactly following EPA regulations. So, but again, who's going to write about the economic impact of classifying all these streams and how it's going to impact everybody? No, producers aren't even at the table. Now, they talk about public input that they're going to have and how they're going to, basically after they draft all this stuff and get done, then they're going to open it up for some public comments, kind of like their process with names. So I have no confidence whatsoever that this isn't just a huge takeover of our streams in the state. Is exactly what I think it is. Is there any way to stop it? The question was asked up there, if we don't implement this, what would the feds do? And the comment was made by one of the DNR guys that said, well, we would lose $9 million in funding. We would lose $9 million in funding. Well, I think the sovereignty of the state of Missouri is worth a lot more than $9 million. Under the 10th Amendment, how can the feds control all of our property and our streams and our waters like they're trying to do? Because we're in them. And like I've said before, until people develop a spine in Jeff City and start telling our agencies to start following the Constitution of the state of Missouri and the U.S. Constitution, we're going to continue down this path. But I think there are ways that we can fight this. And one of them is to get better representatives in this. I've got a whole bunch more stuff here, but I think we're going a little bit long. So I'm going to cut it a little short. One thing, I'm just going to give you a little quick update on what I'm doing. I announced up in Cape Girardeau exploratory committee to run for Congress in the 8th District. And I'm getting ready to make an announcement a little bit later about running for that office. I'll be doing a formal announcement a little bit later. But I'll be running for that office as a Republican. So just for your information today, thank you guys.